What I will say is it was a project that I intentionally was going, not my problem. That's yeah. Okay, well, I think we're gonna get started. I'm gonna set the timer now, and I'm gonna grab the mic so people can hear me, and I think some more people will filter in. But hey again, everybody. I'm Stacy. She and they pronouns are great. I'm one of the organizers of this, and I'm putting together some panels today. Thank you to everybody who joined for our last one, and for the bands. Welcome in if you're just getting here. This panel is all about sustainability and longevity in local music scenes. And I asked a couple of my friends who all have some perspectives on that to come and join me. So I'm going to have each of you just introduce yourself real quick with like an elevator pitch.
I'm Melissa. I have been booking shows in Delaware for probably like 15 years. I own Rainbow Records in Newark. I recently started a nonprofit music organization to take the money that we give to the government back from the government to put back into our music scene. And I book for a couple other things, co-show and other stuff.
I'm Diego. I help run Impetus Records. I've booked shows for a lot of things, but like individually as part of collectives. Ran a zine for a long time, and generally around doing stuff invested in the community.
I'm Chris Howe. I've played in bands for a while and booked shows back in high school. I haven't booked many lately, but go to a lot of shows. I helped open up some record stores in Delaware and other states, and yeah, started a project with a friend recently, archiving like Delaware music history going all the way back to the 1940s. So not just DIY and punk stuff, but all music happening in Delaware. And yeah, so just yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm really excited to have you guys. While we were waiting to get the panel started, we did kind of start in this conversation. So I want to do a quick preface in why I chose this as our kind of final topic of the weekend, the month-separated weekend, is that when I use the word sustainability, and this is in my own voice, that word can mean a lot of different things, but to me it's something that self-perpetuates in a healthy way. And it gives as much as it gets. And in any community, there's turmoil, there's drama, there's harm that can happen, but there's also growth and learning and evolution and support. And I think all of us here at this table have seen many trials and tribulations, and we've seen things work out in a beautiful way, and we've seen things crash and burn maybe a little bit. And I know that for the people who have selected to be here at this event today, music is something we all care about a lot. It is everything. I won't speak to your opinions. I'm sure I can give you a second to talk about that. But there's often sort of a novel situation as more people join the community, whether they're younger people who are getting exposed to it for the first time, or people who are discovering that it's a love of theirs maybe they didn't have exposure to. And it's a space where we can all sort of learn to get along. So that's kind of just the pitch I want to give. So I want to start, if anybody wants to bite, conversations about building sustainability across different types of communities within a music scene. If anybody has any immediate thoughts on that.
What do you mean by different types of communities?
Up for interpretation. Could be ages, could be different demographics.
Okay. Music styles?
Yeah, so a lot of my philosophy behind booking shows, and I know this is like not a lot of other people's philosophy necessarily. I mean, the people here, yes. But there are a lot of young people in any community that want to go out and play music. I think that it's very important for scenes to be often to have all ages situations where younger kids can look up to older people who've been playing music for a while. And also, I really like giving opportunities to younger bands. a lot of those younger bands might not necessarily be very good. They're still learning, but that's why you want them to be in spaces with older people that can give them pointers and stuff. And a lot of keeping a scene sustainable is having fresh blood coming in, because like you get people like me who've been doing this for a long time and we get tired. Like I think your last panel you talked about burnout, like we all burn out at some point, and you just need to like bring in younger people and teach them how a PA system works, or what, just various dumb things that you don't think, that you assume that everybody knows, but most people don't actually know. And if you can just pass your knowledge on to younger people, it keeps things sustainable, so that when those of us that burn out want to go to a show, they're still happening.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the concept of like sustainability started really like young. I was like one of the kids that like we couldn't like when I was a teenager and started playing in like my first band. Almost every venue was 21 plus. Like it was just we couldn't get in anywhere, and like we'd have to sneak in to go see shows, and like you know we kind of had to make our own like opportunities. So like that really mattered a lot to me, just like going forward to like leave the door open. I think yeah, there's a lot of ways that can look, but for me, like really like leaving spaces where they're like open and like healthy roles for people to play, like all ages spaces where like you can bring new people in is really like one of the most powerful things, because that was a thing that like I really needed as a kid, and it was really cool to be able to like be a part of that.
I want to reiterate that real quick. Another voice in support of all ages shows. In the ecosystem of a music scene, there's lots of different things. There will always be age-restricted venues just because of the world. But for those of us who can do all ages shows, what an all ages show is, it's a show that can be intentionally built and moderated for safety of a lot of different people. And then what happens if you don't have those available is you have teens who might be sneaking into 21 plus shows where they might not be in a safe environment. And not that people need coddling, but more so that if the people organizing an event can intentionally build it so that all the people in attendance of the event and who are part of the event can be fully participatory in it, that just builds more relationships, more longevity. And then there's a fracture between different age groups. If the younger kids are completely doing things independently and like do stuff independently, like that's awesome. But like completely, then there's no mentorship, there's no sharing of knowledge, of resources, and it builds two separate communities.
Yeah, just to talk about Mike one more time. There was a time like in that stage where like I felt very like I felt very cut off from like the crowd that was older. Maybe like bands that like I loved Worth, which was like a band that you were in, and I was like I could never see Worth, and this is such a bummer. Like and so there was a period kind of in that. Once it was like, oh, there's no space for us to do this, so we must like create our own space. Where I was like, we don't need anybody else. Fuck everybody else. Fuck everyone who's older than us. Like this is our thing. And it was very cool to realize, you know, oh, no one else actually wants that. It's just that these are the spaces that people are available to play. And once you create avenues for there to be all ages shows, no one's like, only freaks are like, there shouldn't be all ages shows. You know, like.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting thought that you mentioned, Worth, because you know that was 10, 12-ish years ago. I guess at that time I was probably in my early 30s and didn't really think much that we were only maybe playing bars, you know, because those were the places to play. You know, maybe we played a couple record stores. I remember playing Jupiter Records or whatever. Yeah, that's interesting to think about. And I guess when I started coming up and first really got into music, I was 13. Went to my first like punk hardcore shows, and we were super fortunate. Like there was tons of places that were putting on all ages shows. It was mostly all ages shows. You know, like we had a daycare center in Newark that was putting on like shows, and like 300 to 500 people were showing up like every weekend. Shout out Josh in the back. He used to do VFW Hall shows in Wilmington, and like hundreds of kids would come out to like these shows like on a Sunday afternoon. And like, you know, I felt super fortunate. Like I didn't have to go to bars. You know, I didn't really know the bar scene because we had that for years, and then. You know, we started going to shows in West Philly, and West Philly had like these squats and like warehouses that probably weren't too safe, but you know, like as a time just solid 13, like you know, as a 15-year-old kid, like seeing like amazing national acts come through and play, and it was all ages. But yeah, that's interesting to think about.
And something else that was said too is that, I mean, even just represented by some of the people here on this panel and in this room, like places where we have shows in Delaware specifically, like we have all ages spaces in a bike shop locally, in a grocery store. We've been seeing this community chapstick display there too. It was awesome. At record stores, multiple record stores, and all these people are in communication and supporting one another. And when I think about sustainability in a scene, another thing I think about is organizers who are not competing but communicating. And there's going to be double booking, but we all have pretty much the same goal. Like, we're not, like, Wilmington to Newark and now Newcastle, which is cool. Like, we're not like these big name cities who are like competing for promotional areas. We are a group of people who want music to happen. And we want to have spaces for our loved ones to play and enjoy music. So it's cool that we have these spaces, and there's a lot of ways where people have been building those coalitions and relationships across different kind of sub-communities. Yeah.
I agree.
Sweet. We're all in agreement.
Yeah.
Amazing. Panel done. No, just kidding.
It feels like a good wave right now. Yeah,
Yeah, it does. It does feel like a good wave. It feels like things are growing, especially in the wake of the lockdown. COVID is still ongoing. We have resources in the back, but the initial lockdown, I think, did stop a lot of momentum in the music scene in a lot of ways, and it built sort of a bit of a blip and like a disconnection between a couple different crowds within that ecosystem of the music scene, which is never, I think, fully quantifiable. And something that has been interesting that I've noticed is that it seems like the way that there's different trends in how like situations are being handled in the scene, and it's interesting to think about like restorative justice and harm reduction and how we take care of one another, because as said in the earlier panel, punk is counterculture, right? Like what we do is counterculture, and I think the best scenes are ones where people support each other with love and build to a better future rather than treating each other like cops, if that makes sense. Do any of you have thoughts on that sort of thing or want to speak to that?
Yes.
I think that it really, I mean, I agree, it's important that we're not, that we're keeping our spaces safe. I do, because I run a bunch of shows, have people come to me that somebody in the scene was a problem and they're in this band and yada, yada, yada. And that's all important to listen to. Like, I know it can be a lot, like, and if you ever book shows, it is going to be hard because people are gonna ask you to take sides in a situation. And that's really tough. But you have to do it, unfortunately or fortunately, because you have to keep the spaces safe, especially as we're all talking about for all ages shows. Like, I don't want anyone ever in Rainbow that's going to be a problem, and if somebody tells me that they're going to be a problem, we need to know that. Now, I'm not saying that people are irredeemable, but that is something as a community people are able to talk about and see what the pathways are forward for people to like reintroduce themselves back into scenes and to be more productive and not create harm and all of those things. But to keep a scene safe, like the people that are, I don't want to say spearheading, but the people who are booking shows, you just have to like kind of keep your ear to the ground to situations that are happening, and it can be hard, it is frustrating. It does feel like a lot more drama than like you want to deal with shows, but like you have to do it. It's just kind of how it goes.
I can relate to that. There is a situation that I experienced when I was booking more and when we were making the zine a couple years back. And I would frequently have people approach me to talk to me about situations that were going on. And there was this kind of beautiful thing that happened where I was able to approach one of these people who had been kind of quietly called out, not very publicly, but like it had been brought to my attention that this person had been engaging in some not so great behaviors. I approached this person, we had a very long conversation. I gave this person some homework. This person was very unaware and remorseful. I mean, and like, we can all do our best to be aware, but I don't know if anybody had talked to them. And has since done a lot of work. I was able to go to the person who initially had contacted me and let them know, like, kind of the perspective, and they never became friends again. It's good, you don't ever need to do that. But it was a beautiful moment of, like, restorative justice, and I think we live in a society that wants us to ostracize one another and wants us to point fingers and scapegoat at one another. We live in a society where we are frankly almost encouraged to harm one another. And I think the most radical thing you can do is to proceed with love and care. And that doesn't mean not calling out harm when it happens. It means calling it out but recognizing that person is human. And that means not tolerating harmful behaviors in shared spaces and not tolerating situations that are harming certain demographics of people, certainly, but doing your best to build communities that are inherently supportive. I have a book recommendation again, Making Spaces Safer by Shauna Potter, which is a book that from Riot Girl perspectives, from like these like badass women who were facing a lot of sexism in the music industry, like how they built community spaces to be supportive of different demographics. We have some time. I would love if people shared maybe a little story or a little memory of like some like punk or Delaware music history, just because it's kind of wrapping up Diamond Fest. It's the panel, it's the theme. Just to sort of shout out what's been going on, what is going on, and what we can continue to build to the future.
I don't have a lot of, I have so many memories that's hard to narrow some down, but just one that I think is fun. I don't know if anybody here knows what noise bombing is.
Yeah.
But it's when you go to like a park or something and you either find an outlet or you bring some sort of generator and you plug in an amp, a guitar, or synthesizers or weird noisemakers or anything like that, and you just like, you don't really set up a show, you just go somewhere, you make a bunch of sound, you have a good time, and then you leave. And do people call the cops? Sometimes they do. We try to get out of there before that happens. But that's a thing we used to do a long time ago. I haven't seen anybody noise bomb anything in a while, so go to your local park and find an outlet and plug in a guitar into an amp and noise bomb something, and that's just, I have fond memories of doing it. It's a good time. It's like if you have off on a Sunday, go do it.
I didn't know it was called that, but yeah, we used to do that too, like 24-hour laundromats, like just set up and play it like in the morning. Yeah, definitely, like, I lived outside of Delaware, but we had People's Park and it had like, yeah, outlets, the street pools and things, and set up and just play there randomly. But yeah, that's great. We should bring that back for sure.
Yeah.
Mine's less of a story, and more just like, I guess, like a point. Like, sustainability also means like keeping, like you said, like there was a blip during COVID, like the initial lockdown period where like when shows started happening again, it felt very weird to be like someone who was here before shows, because like, you know, eventually things kind of came together, but there was a very weird divide where I was like, of a couple of years, like I'd be like, oh, the people who are coming in now are like several years younger than me, just by virtue of like, we kind of missed, you know, like half a generation of people. It was really valuable. Like, I felt really, I guess, privileged that like with the label, the whole thing, because we only put out Delaware bands, we had this kind of like track record of like physical media that was just like, oh, like, you like this band? Like, here's the band that all of these people were in before this band, but that band broke up, but like, that was only like 4 years ago, but like, you would have never known that because like, shows weren't happening. And so it's been very cool to be able to like kind of provide, albeit a very small time, we've only been a label for 9 years, which sounds like a long time, but it doesn't feel that long when you think about like the larger perspective of things. Like, it's been very valuable to be able to say like, hey, like here's the history, right? Like that's all the label was ever meant to be. That's all like the zine we did was ever meant to be. Just like, here's what is happening now, and it's very cool to be able to offer that as a retrospective too.
On that note too, I kind of want to shout out like all the non-music spaces that are important to a scene, like sustainability. There are times I love music, I love shows. Can I go to a show every single night? No, thank you. I'm gonna go to sleep at some point. Supporting community spaces within the punk scene. Support your local coffee shop, you know what I mean? Support your local zine library, like support your local bike shop, support your local record store. Make community events. Like we have an annual like music scene holiday function where it's like the invites are like, hey, anybody in the music scene can kind of come to this. Like, I'm not even allowed to invite my non-music scene friends. It's a whole thing. It's kind of hilarious.
Yeah, there's really stringent policies. I have to tell people all the time, like, can I bring my partner? I'm like, unfortunately,
I've never
no.
seen them at a show.
Yeah, they don't like do stuff, so no.
But having alternative spaces to connect with the people in your community and get to know them as people. And it's funny because this relates to the DIY and activism panel we had earlier, but it's all about coalition and relationship building. Like, there's sort of this fear that some people feel between like those who are organizing things and attending, and the truth is that like the only difference is the act of doing it, and none of that can happen without the participation. So like just showing up is one of the best things you can do to support bands, to support local artists, and make a zine. Like go buy a bike, do all these things. Like participating in the community just as a player is how you continue to build it for the future and making positive relationships with the people in your lives. Calling out bullshit when you see it, but calling it out with humanity. And yeah, I think that just about brings us to our time. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts here?
Just if you're somebody who's not super involved in the scene and you're interested in learning how to put on shows or being in a band, like just talk to somebody that does know how to do that, or can point you in the direction of somebody that knows how to do that, or come talk to me at any point. I'm usually at Rainbow and I'm happy to help people learn stuff. Like I want everybody to learn stuff. If you want to ask what this cable is called, I'm happy to tell you.
What's it called?
XLR cable.
Wow. That, you know, like,
People on the edge of their seats.
yeah.
On that note too, just because I keep getting reminded of stuff, Diego and I used to run a monthly zine called Disturbance that cataloged the month-to-month sort of goings-on of the Delaware punk scene, and we wrapped it up, funnily enough, in February of 2020 with our last one. And I was nervous because I was like, what's going to happen when this ends? Like, this was how a lot of people at the time found out when shows were happening and like where to go. And since then, so many people have been making zines. Like, I'm looking at a bunch, and it always makes my heart sing when I see other people pick up the mantle and do really cool things too, and do it their own way.
And similarly, like, Disturbance ended, and then kind of post lockdown, I started DE Underground. I do not run it. That was absolutely Parker. I did it and immediately was like, oh, I don't have the space or ability to like run this in the way that I think it should be run. And it's really cool because the whole idea with it was just like Disturbance was the amount of people that like started coming to shows because they were like, oh, I just like was at this like cafe.
Shout out
like,
Gravers Lane.
Yeah, I mean a whole bunch of people straight up like just like started coming to shows because they like saw a free zine that had the front page was just like, the second page was like a list of all the shows that month. And it's cool that what Parker's done with the Underground and like keeping that going. And
There's stickers at the Impetus table downstairs. It's a website and like social media page that posts when all ages shows are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. You should absolutely check it out if you were interested in coming stuff.
Yeah, just want to reiterate that too. Yeah, go to shows, make a zine, start a band. Even if it feels intimidating to like book a show yourself, but you want to see a band that you really like, yeah, talk to Melissa, talk to me, talk to Robbie or whoever's booking shows right now and say, there's this band, I really like them, you know, love to see them come through. Yeah, we can help make that happen.
You gotta ask for what you want in this world.
Yeah, ask for what you want.
And
Yeah.
people will help you.
Yeah. Help stay and clean up the space afterwards. You know, everybody can participate in little ways.
It's
you know,
more
yeah.
fun that way
Yep.
anyway.
Help run the door sometime. you know, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's where you find out
The
the
one
floors.
thing I wanted to say, we, you know, Stacy and I and amongst a lot of other people have booked a lot of shows at like community centers, like the George Wilson Center, and you know we're all like poor, we would pull money together to rent it, and so we had it for like 4 hours, and I was like, great, that's the time we need to like get in, set up, bands play, and we leave, and every time we had like
late fee at 10:03.
it would literally it was like
40
oh,
people each picking up one piece of equipment at
Yeah.
10:01.
We would get on the mic and people would be like, one more song. We'd be like, hey, we can do one more song, but like straight up, we need to be out of here in 2 minutes. So like, it was awesome because the set would end and just everybody would grab a piece of gear and just move it outside just so we were out of the building. And that was honestly some of the coolest communal stuff. Like,
There's your anecdote.
yeah, cool story, great.
On that note, feeling a little bit of warm fuzzies. Thank you all for being here, for participating. We don't unfortunately have any time for questions tonight, but come find all of us. Like, I love to chat. Come talk to the people here. Please get some resources. We have free COVID tests and tons of free zines about whatever you want, or whatever Karina wants.
Anything you want.
Anything Karina wants.
Karina's interested in.
And is Culture on next?
Paltrow is next. Yeah.
Yo, go downstairs, listen to Paltrow. We have a couple more bands, and then at the end of the night, and then you can help us with chairs if you want. Thank you so much, y'all.